All right. Good morning, GM. Good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. This is the Superchain Spotlight Show. We are so honored to have the wonderful Micah Johnson joining us today. So, GM,
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for
how's
having
it
me.
going?
Everything's good. Everything's good. You doing all right?
I am great. I'm ready to get into this conversation. I'm so excited because you have been, I've admired your work. I've had the chance to sit down with you a couple of times and kind of get a sense of who
Thank
you are creatively, who you are as a human being, but really excited to be talking about what you're actually doing right now on the super chain and this drop that you have coming up with base. But for anybody who's perhaps a new listener, a new watcher right now, can you give us an intro about your very illustrious career in the
you.
MLB and leading you to Aku Dreams now?
Yeah. So, started my career as a baseball player, retired in 2018, um, became a full-time artist then, albeit a very starving one for a few years there. Uh, my art is centered around, inspiring people to really chase their dreams. And, the way I live is really the same message, trying to really embody that spirit on a daily basis. And I created this character Aku that could be a representation of that in a form that could be across different mediums and reach different demographics than maybe my paintings might. And so now I just serve as a really just a creative conduit to hopefully inspire other people.
So you're kind of a left brain, brain kind of person, given that you have this this athletic, probably very methodical approach to what you did in sports, and then this very creative brain. Is this something you were nurturing all along, or is this something, this creative spirit that you found, did this come after baseball?
No, no, no. I grew up playing piano, grew up fluent in Spanish. I didn't have my first, all my classes were growing up were in Spanish until about fourth grade. Then we would have some classes in English, and then for the most part, most of them are Spanish. In college, I took advanced classical guitar. So I was always doing different things. And so I've always had this creative energy in me. Um, so it's kind of been there.
Did you ever feel conflict between those two kind of paths that you had? Did you ever feel that one didn't allow for the other at any point, or were you always able to keep both fires burning?
Um, no, I think I was able to always do both. When I played baseball, I worked really hard, extremely hard, and at the time, that was my priority, and the other stuff was just what I did off the field. Um, People play video games, people do other things. That's just what I did off the field. So there was never a conflict in that. When I was playing with the Atlanta Braves, I was painting in my apartment most of the time after games, and then that was kind of just what I did, and so I just enjoy it. So now it's what I do full time.
So take us back to kind of that inspiration. Was there one particular thing that happened or something that sparked the vision for Aku? And did you ever conceive that it would be something as impactful as it has become and end up on the cover of Time magazine? Was that something that you had kind of thought about when you first started creating it?
No, no, no. You don't think about the outcome as a creative. You just create. I just wanted to create something that could reach a different audience, a different demographic. That was, again, more scalable than painting. Painting is such a thing that it's only I can do that. And that's only have so many hours in the day to create artworks that then go live on somebody's wall, right, in a private home. And so, I had no idea of the potential impact of this character or the broad reach of what this character could do. I think the way Aku has been able to kind of sit at the intersection of art, sports, and culture is pretty unique, and kind of unique to kind of who I am as a creator and former athlete. And so that's something I didn't really anticipate. And all the accolades or recognition and stuff, I don't ever think about that stuff. You just create, and if you stay active and you stay creating, good things happen. I think that's very important for creators, is to understand is that when you're not in motion and you kind of just trying to figure out what to do, you just have to be in motion at all times, because you never know what can come from that.
And I think it's such a it says so much about who you are as an individual that those kind of moments are not the highlights to you. It's more about those the impact that perhaps those moments are making on those individuals. Has there ever been a moment in this journey with Aku that perhaps you've had chance to speak with a young person who's been impacted by this story that's maybe stayed with you?
Oh yeah, there's been a lot of those, which is a blessing, and and that's really what the impact is about, is on the personal level. Um, I think what I really pride myself on in this journey with Aku is the grassroots, organic nature of this character. Going to do school visits last year, I donated 5,000 Aku backpacks to kids across the country. I'm going to these different schools and these different organizations, and getting to interact with these kids is really exciting. To see the confidence they have, as young kids, and how this character can help foster that. Also applies to adults. I've met dozens of adults who resonate with Aku and the meaning, and spark. I've heard stories of Aku inspiring people to start a new job or chase their dream, and that's really what it's all about. And those, I believe in a world where social media can, you have a great platform of social media, you can reach a lot of people. I'm just old school. I like being on the ground. I like talking to people face to face on the phone. That's just kind of how I feel like I want to grow this brand, and grow Aku.
Let's talk about kind of the first phase of what you did with Aku. What was the kind of the mission behind that initial drop, and what's it been like building a community of people who bought into this concept and this idea?
Yeah, so early on, I think it was, you don't anticipate what it's going to be or what it can be, and so you go down. We've been down several paths of, how to build this out, how to scale this out, what to be doing with it. And you go down past kind of sometimes pretty far down that path, and realize it doesn't work, or it's not authentic, and there's roadblocks. And so you pivot along the way. I think early on, I think the focus was on trying to build some big ecosystem out, independently. Um, and that's really difficult. And it's also you kind of slow, because at the same time you're learning about all these new different things. And the thing about Aku that's really special is that it can be a lot of different things. It could be, TV, it could be movie, it could be books, it could be figurines, it could be toys, it could be across apparel, it could be all these different things. And when you're focused on so many different things, it makes it very difficult to actually execute across them. And so I think the stage I'm at now over the past, in 2024, is much different than where I was in 2022, trying to do all these different things. 2024, my whole focus was on creating authentic relationships and partnerships that could help grow awareness of what I'm trying to do, and that's just inspire people. And instead of trying to do everything independently, scale back dramatically, where I can just now be a creative and work with people who want my uh, creative knowledge and skill set to amplify, an existing product, or amplify something they do really well. And so that's kind of what I've been doing. And to this point, it's been working really well, because, I'm very good at creating. Doesn't mean I'm good at, operations or distribution and all that, and those different things that come along with trying to grow this. And so focusing on finding the right partners that are authentic and are strategic to help grow this step by step is what I've been, the focus of this, and allow me to do what I do best.
And speaking of partnerships, you just for Onchain Summer made this announcement of this drop, which actually ends today. It is the last day that you can get your hands on this, folks. It's a partnership with Tops, and also it's being minted on Base. We're in the middle of this On-Chain Summer energy. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of innovation. What was the decision to kind of go onto the Superchain and build with Base? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so the Tops piece was, I created the first ever Negro League baseball card set with Tops. And that was a whole rollout leading up to the Rickwood Classic, which was the MLB game at the oldest baseball stadium in the country. And that's where a lot of the Negro League players played, and a lot of MLB players played at the time. So it was a very historic stadium. And so leading up to that game, we released these sets with Tops, and the energy around them was absolutely amazing. They made 24-foot cards that appeared at different Major League Baseball stadiums and cities across the country leading up to it. So we were in New York, We were at Fox Plaza, Kansas City, Baltimore, Philadelphia, all leading up to the game in Rickwood. And it was covered extensively by the media across USA Today, New York Times, Forbes. We're on Fox and Friends, and so the energy around it was good. So I wanted to bring it back and tie it all together with my roots in Web3, and release my own variation of this with Base that allow people to be a part of this really special moment, and tie it all together on chain, and allow my community to mint one for free, and then a very low price mint, so people do have access to the things that I'm doing with Aku, and it was really a really symbiotic way to kind of tie the whole project together.
I think it's also just a great opportunity for people to have an access point that's, perhaps the original Akus are beyond their price kind of limitations. And so to give this entry point that's also relatively friction free, I have to say, I went and I minted 2 this morning, and then I just
Thank you.
Yeah, I minted another one so we can give a couple away.
Amazing, thank you.
Super easy process. Like, I think back to, I've been in the space probably as long as you have, and all of those hoops that we had to jump through to kind of mint an NFT in 21, 22. Like, it is just becoming a much easier ecosystem, which excites me because I think we can really start to actually onboard people with a true purpose. Have you seen anything just in these last kind of couple of days of having this live on Base? Have you seen any removal of that friction, any interest from people who perhaps weren't here yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key, is that we want to make this infrastructure accessible to people, everyday people, and extrapolate all the difficulties that we at the first onset of this kind of crypto art stage, back in when I minted my first NFT in February or March of 2020. There's definitely been a lot of growth, and that's the key, especially for a character or what I'm doing, which kind of is living within the traditional world, with all the projects that we're doing. How can we make sure that we onboard those people, and there's infrastructure to onboard new people into our ecosystem, in the Web3 ecosystem, in an accessible way. And also, to your point, like, have an accessible entry point to own something that I've created, something with Aku. I think that stuff is really important, because that's kind of what prints serve for in the traditional physical art world. Artists release prints, but now with the ability to mint art on chain, I think that gives us even more opportunity for people to collect things and art that they like, and that they resonate with.
You mentioned kind of the intersection of where Aku, touches sports, culture, new technology. Like, just to kind of touch on something you shared there, do you have thoughts about the fine art world? Do you have any thoughts about where Aku could potentially fit there as well? Because I feel like the character just lends itself to so many verticals.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. I'm an artist, and the fine art world is what it is, but I think it's not like it used to be. I think there's paths for artists that exist to make a living, that is beyond just the traditional gallery route, or the traditional getting into institutions. I think now artists do have many opportunities to generate money to support themselves, to continue to output creatively. And I look at myself as agnostic to any particular medium. I just want to get my art out there, and whatever that calls for. So in Aku's case, we do have things that we're doing from a traditional media storytelling perspective. That's just one bucket. We have another bucket we're working on that is more of a across apparel, right? And then in the art world, that's something that's very special to us. And like, coming up in July, we're going to be unveiling 2 very historic projects. I don't think anything like these 2 have ever been done before in the art realm. And so, just using these different mediums and touch points to grow this character. But again, they're all authentic to me. I think that's what's really important.
Any thoughts on developing additional characters to join Aku in his world?
Oh, that's been done with. We got more characters, a robust world, um, and that's going to be really exciting for people to see new characters resonate with new characters, different personalities, and that's going to be really exciting to see. It's a long process. I think Web3, you kind of think about time scales a little differently, but the reality is it doesn't really work like that because especially being a creator led uh, ecosystem, creativity doesn't just come like you can't just write it. You can't just make something good like you're just writing an email. Like it comes in spurts, and so the Aku story is one that took. It's been years, working on it for years, and now I can honestly say it's done. And will be coming out next year. Um, it's just what it is. It just takes time. It's gonna take time to build these characters, this world, this ecosystem, and then we'll wake up 10 years from now and be like, oh, that flew by. So it's kind of how I look at it. That's my perspective on it.
Talk to us a little about your creative process. Are you somebody who's like, get up, go to the studio, create, or are you someone who does kind of wait for that divine inspiration? Like, what is your process?
It's a little how do I explain it? It depends. Right now is I can't really give you a kind of concrete answer on that because of the different range of projects that I have in production right now, in the varying degree of them. I think one thing that I'm kind of am different in is I do a lot of the deals myself, and I do a
Mm,
lot of the meetings and strategy myself. And so I like to do that. I like to be hands on in that process. So my days kind of consist of creating, strategizing, ideating. But I think the one thing that makes us really good is that, basically it's just me and Dirk who communicate basically at this point telepathically. And we are able to iterate across different, ideas very, very quickly
mm,
and then know exactly at the point to output them to the other people that need to go execute those even further. But we're proficient in a lot of these tools that allow us to get ideas out in a way that people can understand very clearly. So there's not much back and forth once we get out of ideation stage or design stage, if that makes sense. So whether that's, let's talk about like a very large life-size sculpture, right? We're going to design that. We're going to go through different ideas very, very quickly, because we just know this character so intimately. And then we can output that out to the people that actually can produce
mm.
the actual physical sculpture, right? And then there's no really going back and forth because at this point we have really good people around us, and we all speak, really well together. I think communication is key.
But you're a traditional painter. You're somebody who is, in the studio. I've watched videos of you in that creative process. Like you are very much a traditional artist in that sense. But it's interesting with this world that we're in right now, whereas it feels like as soon as that kind of last paintbrush, last mark on the canvas is done, it almost becomes a product, right? So you kind of lose that element of creativity, that ideation a little. But do you miss that kind of hands-on, just you and the canvas process? Is it something you allow yourself to have in between the deals and in between the ventures?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like the Tops project was an extensive project that that was all those portraits I created were charcoal on canvas, and so that was tons of hours of work. So I was in the studio deep into that. And at that point, that's when I really block out everything else. And that's where, I make sure, and I'm very structured in this sense where, I'm not being distracted because I know I need to execute this and there's deadlines and there's timelines, right? But at the same time, knowing that we have, you know, dozens of other projects in production, that's when it comes down. That's why, the ideation and design phase and getting into a place that people can understand is very important because I'm very particular, very particular when it comes to design. So when I'm in the studio and I'm painting, I can't really be answering emails and going back and forth. People, I need to make sure that I get my vision out there, um, so that people can really, start to build it out, and then I can come back and it's already, we're making a lot of progress.
So, aspiration wise, are we going to see more from you for Onchain Summer after this drop closes, or are we looking at something different in the next couple of months? Anything else coming on base that you can tease?
We'll see. We'll see. We have built a very impressive platform for when the main kind of story comes out. That is very, very innovative. I think the word people use is consumer crypto, consumer apps. And we've been working on this for over a year now. And you know, right now that's what I'm really focused on, is how can I make sure when Aku really and the things that we're doing are reaching a very wide audience. What are we doing to onboard them into the Web3 ecosystem? And what are we doing? And I think with the tools like Base and making things accessible and low gas and scalable, those are things that are very very important when we're building infrastructure like that.
As somebody who's got a very decorated career from MLB to art to the cover of Time magazine, what do you hope your legacy will be?
Oh yeah, for me that's really simple. That I want people to say like this guy really just never stopped. Just never stopped. Like I don't accolades and all that is they're great, and I'm honored to be doing those things, because I don't take those for granted by any stretch of the imagination. But I think the beauty is in the emails that you don't go responded to, or the no's that you get, because even those people, I want them to remember that, hey, like that wasn't a wild idea Micah had, and there's nothing for us to do business wise or work wise, but man, that guy had a lot of passion, and he like really did everything he could. And he clearly is relentless in getting this message out there. That's really it. Just relentless in the pursuit of doing things that are seemingly unattainable.
I love that. So the drop closes today. Last call to action, perhaps for folks who are watching this. What is the drop? How can they get their hands on it?
Yeah, the drop is the Aku baseball cards on chain. And I would say this is a really special drop. It ties kind of puts a bow on this incredible project I did with Topps to honor the Negro League baseball players. But also, it's stepping into a new realm of getting back into baseball. This project was one of the first projects I've done in years within sports or within baseball. And it's just the beginning of a new exciting path that I'm going down within the baseball realm. So it's the end of this amazing project with honoring the Negro Leagues, but it's just the beginning of what Aku and what we're doing within baseball. People will see very soon.
It's very exciting. Well, Micah, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to sit down with you. And folks, please do go give Micah a follow. Make sure you go grab one of these Aku cards today before the drop closes. Thank you so much.
Rachel's always a pleasure.
All right. Have a wonderful weekend, folks. We'll see you soon.
See you. Thank you.